We've got the first look at the new Galaxy S26 Ultra, and it's shaping up to be one of Samsung's most exciting releases yet. Now before we dive into the Ultra reveal, let's quickly talk about the rest of the lineup. The base S26 has already leaked, and while the design looks very familiar, there is a clear change in the rear camera module, and Samsung is also giving it a small but smart rebrand in the name, and it's now going to be called the Galaxy S26 Pro, which honestly makes way more sense in terms of marketing. And then we've also got the Galaxy S26 Edge that's going to be replacing the Plus model. Performance-wise, there's also a twist for the S26 Pro, and in most regions, the S26 Pro is going to be powered by Samsung's new Exynos 2600 and not the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. But don't worry, the S26 Ultra is still Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 across the board. Now the Gen 5 chip was released last month. It's built on TSMC's 3nm process, and the early benchmarks are wild. We've got faster CPU, stronger GPU, and in multi-core and gaming tests, it's actually beating Apple's A19 Pro. Now the display is where things get really interesting for the S26 Ultra though. Not only are we getting better color accuracy and a higher peak brightness, but Samsung is adding a brand new privacy display feature in One UI 8.5. Now leaker Ak Ultra shared screenshots, and it shows how it works. So instead of dimming or limiting viewing angles physically, it actually does this through the software, and it can automatically activate in public places or even just lock down some important or sensitive apps like banking. Now that's a genuinely useful feature, and one that I can see many other brands copying as well. Now we're also seeing a slightly larger 6.89-inch screen up from the predecessor's 6.86-inch, and it's now using COE OLED technology, and that's color filter on encapsulation. Now in simple terms, it's brighter, sharper, and more power efficient, and it's going to help squeeze a bit more battery life out of the X26 Ultra. Bezels are also getting even thinner, giving us a near full screen front look that's going to feel incredibly premium. Now flip it over and we get some more changes. There's a new camera bump redesign, and while the main sensor stays the same as last year, Samsung has upgraded the aperture to f1.4, which is quite a jump from last year's f1.7, and it means that we're going to get more light and better detail in low light shots, as well as some better background blur. Now the 5x telephoto also gets a brighter f2.9 aperture, and then the 3x telephoto gets an upgrade to a 12 megapixel sensor. Now battery size has been increased too, and apparently to 5,500 mAh, and for the first time in years, we're finally getting a decent upgrade to fast charging, with it now being 60 watt, so you go from 0 to 100 much faster than before. Now let's talk design, because this is where confusion has been flying around online this week. You've probably seen a bunch of these so-called real S26 Ultra photos floating around, but these ones here are almost certainly AI-generated content. Now the actual reveal has come though, and OnLeaks in collaboration with Android Headlines has delivered us these renders here, and if you've followed OnLeaks before, you know OnLeaks is basically never wrong. Every design he shared over the last few years is pretty much 99% at least matched the final product, and these new renders confirm that the renders I've been showing you for months are in fact correct, and this is exactly what the Galaxy S26 Ultra is going to look like. Now for those excited, we're going to break down the expected specs, design, and pricing for every model in this series to help you guys decide which one is right for you. So hit subscribe now and we'll get right into it. So first up, we've got the standard Galaxy S26 Pro, which is coming with a 6.3-inch dynamic AMOLED display with improvements to brightness and color accuracy. We get a 120Hz display with HDR10+ and a resolution of 1080 by 2340, and it's going to be protected by Gorilla Glass Victus 3. We get a 12 megapixel punch hole camera for the selfies, and then over on the rear it's a triple camera setup consisting of a wide, an ultra wide, and a telephoto, but unfortunately at this time we don't know the exact sensors being used. It's going to be powered up by the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 in some regions, with the Exynos 2600 globally, and it's coming with 12GB of RAM and up to 512GB of storage, which will be UFS 4. We get a 4,300 mAh battery with 25W fast charging and 15W wireless charging, and it will of course come with 5G, Bluetooth 5.4, Wi-Fi 7 and ultra wideband support, and it's going to be launching with One UI 8.5 based on Android 16, and it's expected to launch from $800 in January 2026. Next up, we've got the Galaxy S26 Edge, which is going to be replacing the Plus model this time round. And it's coming with a 6.7-inch dynamic AMOLED display with improvements to brightness and color accuracy. We get a 120Hz display with HDR10+, a resolution of 1440 by 3120, and is protected by Gorilla Glass Victus 3. We get a 12-megapixel punch-hole camera for the selfies, and over on the rear it's a dual camera setup consisting of a 200-megapixel wide-angle and a 50-megapixel ultra-wide. It's going to be powered by the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, and it's coming with 12 gigs of RAM and a choice of 256 or 512 storage, which will be UFS 4, and it's coming with a 4200 mAh battery with improvements to fast charging. And it will of course come with 5G, Bluetooth 5.4, Wi-Fi 7 and ultra-wideband support, and it's going to be launching with One UI 8.5 based on Android 16, and is expected to launch from around $1,000 in January 2026. Now finally, we've got the most premium model, the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra, and the S26 Ultra is coming with a 6.9-inch dynamic AMOLED display, and again we've got improvements to brightness and color accuracy. We get a 120Hz display with HDR10+, and a resolution of 1440 by 3120, and it's going to be protected by Gorilla Glass Armor 3. We get a punch-hole camera top center to house a 12-megapixel selfie camera, and then over on the rear we've got a quad camera setup consisting of a 200-megapixel primary camera with an aperture of f1.4, we've got a 50-megapixel ultra-wide, a 50-megapixel periscope with 5x optical zoom, and then a 12-megapixel telephoto with 3x optical zoom. It's going to be powered by the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 in all regions, and it's coming with up to 16GB of RAM and 1TB of storage, which will of course be UFS 4. It's coming with a 5500 mAh battery with an upgrade to 65W fast charging, and it will of course come with 5G, Bluetooth 5.4, Wi-Fi 7 and ultra-wideband support, and it's launching with One UI 8.5 based on Android 16. It is expected to launch from around $1,300 in January 2026. So overall, the Galaxy S26 series is shaping up to be a seriously strong upgrade. The design tweaks might look subtle, but with the new privacy display, improved cameras, bigger battery, and the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 with all of that extra power, Samsung has clearly focused on real-world improvements. The launch is expected to be early next year, so there's still plenty of time for surprises, and as soon as we get any more leaks coming in, I'll be dropping the updates straight away, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. And let me know in the comments if you're excited for the S26 Ultra, and let me know which model you're going for.